Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in honor of one of the biggest patches to come to Raid in a long time, that's going to be giving players the ability to prioritize the special abilities for champions in the order they want them to prioritize them in, or completely lock out abilities. I thought it would be fun to do a video here talking about the top 10 champions that come to mind for me in terms of the general effect of the game and the player base as a whole, in terms of impact that they will feel from this patch in overall use in the game. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, there's like hundreds of different ways you can go about making this video, and there's like 50 champions I want to put on this list, but I'm just going to be talking about the 10 that come to mind for me in terms of impact because of customizable AI. So I'm not going to be just talking about the arena or just this certain area of the game, just the most general effect to the player base. So for the first champion, I'm going to touch on Krila. And actually, this is kind of an honorable mention because this is number 11. I haven't even gotten into the top 10 yet, but I wanted to give an honorable mention to Krila because she was a fusion, so a lot of players that have been playing Raid for a decent amount of time are going to have her. And when you're setting up a like ally attack composition, sometimes she can weirdly prioritize this war weirding ability when you're like, I just want you to do your ally attack and run in and bring the team with you. So now we're going to be able to customize that. And because Krila was a fusion champion that a decent chunk of the player base has, I wanted to at least throw that out there at number 11. So now we get into number 10, and I want to talk about Lord Shazar for a little bit because this guy is going to be an insane clan boss DPS now because of our ability to lock out this A3. Where he's going to do an AoE, doesn't help us any because the clan boss is a single target. The bombs aren't very good versus the clan boss. We just want him to be spamming this every single turn, and he can do that every single turn because the A2 grants an extra turn. So he can buff his attack and then spam this triple hitter to pair it with Giant Slayer, and then in an unkillable team, or we've got a bunch of poisons and debuffs on the clan boss, he's going to hit super hard. So if you glass him out in an unkillable team, every single turn, he's going to be spamming this triple hitter, hitting super hard on the clan boss. So I wanted to get him on there at number 10 and talk about his potential in certain clan boss compositions. He's going to be cranking out damage against the clan boss. And in that same train of thought, I want to move on over to Rugnor Goldgleam. Now, this guy is a little bit different than Shazar, but I wanted to put him at number 9 and talk about that in the same breath because it's going to be a similar situation where he really shines, but it's going to be more because of his kit and not just like the raw every single turn triple hitter damage of the Shazar. But you've got this ability here. When booked, you're placing the big defense break and the big weaken. Obviously insane in any clan boss scenario. Then we can lock out the A2 if we want, and we can just keep that permanent leech going, which is going to be like basically a lifesteal set for our entire team to constantly get sustained and then pump out the defense break and the weekend. And Rugnor also hits really hard. So wanted to get him on the list because I think the AI could do some big things for him and be a lot of fun in different clan boss compositions as well. Then I want to talk about Seer for just a little bit here at number 8 because Seer's AI is not that bad. Honestly, they did a pretty good job on her AI, but you could argue that in the right scenario, you don't even want her to do her A2. You just want her to be spamming the A1, hoping that she gets that 20% for an extra turn and get to that karma burn as fast as possible because there is no chance for an extra turn if we do the A2 here. But it does place some extra buffs, but you don't always need that with the comp. It does depend. Sometimes it's great to do that, sometimes it's not. Now the player can make that choice. Also, the karma burn can be a little bit weird. Even if you get a bunch of buffs up, sometimes if you don't have the right blend of the weekend, the defense down, if you have both and a bunch of buffs, obviously she's always going to do it. But there are a few little weird situations and weird compositions where she actually won't do her karma burn when you want her to. But now players aren't going to have to worry about that. You can really maximize how the Seer team is going to perform. I wanted to put it on the list because Seer is such an important champion that so many people are using for speed runs that just the ability to always get it right is something I wanted to make sure I mention. But we're going to stay in the Oryx for number 7 and head on over to Vrask. Now, I wanted to get this on here because we can actually now just lock out this A2 and make Vrask even a better support. Like, typically, I would say 90-something% of the time, you just want this guy to heal as much as possible. Because this passive here, you get crit chance on him, he's going to heal based on his max HP, and you just want him to spam his A1 and crank out heals. Now, I'm sure some of you out there, you like the lightning strike, you like getting that little bit of damage every 3 turns, whatever, but most of the time, you just want Veras to crank out heals. So the fact that we can now lock that out and just spam that A1 is going to make him an insane support. And at number 6, I wanted to put Umbral on the list because she prioritizes her Undying Evil, which is the AoE Provoke, which in most situations is fine, especially in the arena. It's great to get that CC down for 2 turns. But there are some situations where you want the block buffs, and she really never does it because she places the Provoke, and then she blocks active skills on herself for 5 turns, and then once this is that block active skills is off, now she does this again, and she never really does her A2. Sometimes you want to place that block buffs for 3 turns, which is absolutely insane. A 3-turn block buff is crazy. So sometimes there's situations where you want to unlock a little bit more potential out of Umbral by having her block buffs, then do the provoke afterwards. So even though her AI is technically right in the order they prioritize it, I think just the way your kit is designed and being kind of weird and like her blocking out her own ability, I think it'll be fun to play around with her now that we can kind of adjust how that prioritization is going to work. And at number 5, we have got Prince Kymar. Now, again, they did a pretty good job on his AI. Most situations, it's going to work fine, but people do run into weird scenarios, most notably in the Spider, where it's like, what the heck? He's doing his AoE attack. I want him to reset skills. Now, we're going to be able to always make sure he's doing that in our Spider teams that we design, and we can even tell him not to prioritize the cooldown reset. And then we can do high speed Kymars. So like his first turn, he won't reset. Then our whole team goes, and now our Kymar comes on the back end of that and then resets. Now we've got a high speed Kymar that will be getting more turns over the course of a big run. You got a 270 speed Kymar versus 140 speed Kymar because you had to build them super slow. You're going to get a lot more resets over the course of like a high level Doom Tower run or something. So there are situations where you're going to want to play around with Kymar and get that to really work and make your team insane to get more potential out of certain runs. So I wanted to throw them on the list here at number 5. Now we're getting into the top 4, where these are all going to be pretty significant changes in my opinion. Vizier just got way better, and honestly, for most of you out there that pull Vizier after that update, you don't even need to book this guy. So he's a 0 book clan boss god because we can lock out his A2 and his A3, just have him spam this A1. Like typically, we just want him increasing the duration of all debuffs in a clan boss scenario, most notably where he is used most. So we can lock out the A2 because we don't really want to place the block buffs and the heal reduction a lot, especially in like certain compositions where those aren't important to you. They just take up debuff slots of things that we wish we could do other things with. The decreased attack can be good in certain compositions, so you're gonna have to weigh your options there on that, but that's the beauty of this, is now the player will be able to make that call themselves. The A3, we don't want to do this in the clan boss. We lock that out, and now we're gonna be doing our A1 enough that he should be able to keep everything up mostly permanent, even though his A1's not booked. So massive change to Vizier. He's gonna be way better. Then at number 3, we're going to talk about Madame Saris. Now, Madame Saris, they've adjusted her AI. I swear it's like 3 or 4 times at this point. She's been in like the bottom section of like miscellaneous patch notes so many times, but they just cannot get it right. Players are always frustrated about their Saris not doing the A3 here to strip off shields, break the defense, and now players are finally going to have control to get Saris to perform how she always should have been. But yeah, it's just funny how they keep adjusting it, but then people keep testing it, and they're like, what the heck, my Saris isn't acting right in my team. So I'm excited for Saris to be finally performing how she always should have been, and I wanted to throw her up in the top 3 because it's going to be a pretty big deal, especially with her being an epic and a little bit more of a top-tier arena champion that is a little bit more accessible. And geez, our 3rd Dark Elf in a row, but obviously at number 2, I've got to talk about Coldheart. There's so many people trying to build spider teams to do cool things with Coldheart. You got to do weird things like build her super insanely fast to get 2 turns before your Renegade or before your Kymar, because she always does her AoE. You don't want her to kill the Spiderlings on HP burn teams, so she's doing a bunch of damage to Spiderlings with the AoE. You just want her to come out and spam her Heartseeker into the Spider and then do her A1 until she cycles back to Heartseeker. So now we can go ahead and make that decision and build our Cold Heart teams accordingly. You can also do so many other things. Cold Heart, one of the most widely used rares in the game, especially for like special end game type teams. Lots of utility because of Heartseeker, and now we can finally have our AI perform how we have always wanted it to. And at number 1, I am going to be going with the Demon Queen herself, Allure. Allure is going to be a goddess in the Fire Knight, okay? We don't want her to do her A3. We don't want her to do her A2. In most scenarios, like as long as you've got a defense break and stuff, you don't really want her to do her A2. You just want her to spam the A1 every single turn. You want 3 hits on that shield. You want the turn meter reduction. And most scenarios, you just want Allure to spam that A1 as much as possible. So now, players are going to be able to do that with their Allures, and she is going to be an insane epic, especially in the Fire Knight, one of the toughest dungeons for players to progress in. And now Allure are going to be an epic champion that you can really make insane for those Fire Knight runs and other teams in general, slamming that A1 even more than she already does. Getting the multi-hitter and the turn meter reduction out there is going to be super fun with Allure. Alrighty, so that will do it for my list. I'm sure you have a few that you disagree on, or champs that I didn't put on here that you think should have been, and I would love to hear about that down below. I really enjoy reading your perspectives and seeing where you agree and where you disagree. But again, mine was Kreela, Rugnor, Lord Shazar, Seer, Varask, Umbral, Kymar, Vizier, Saris, Cold Heart, and Allure. So that will do it for this one. I am super excited for this patch. Cannot wait for it to go live. It cannot come soon enough. Cannot wait to dive in, start changing champions around, and building teams around the AI customization. So as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.